only 3 games to talk about this week because this week is the international break. And I was going to include USA versus Brazil into this video, only to find out that that friendly actually kicked off in 2 hours from when I'm doing this video. So, yeah, unfortunately, it's a little bit too late to do kind of like a full preview of that game. Although, one thing I will say about that game is that, this is really probably one of the first chances we get to see this new generation of players that we have in U.S. men's national team. Obviously, a lot of guys that's going to be playing in this game did not play in the last World Cup qualifying section, and that, these are the guys that we are going to bring potentially into the 2022 World Cup, and these are the guys that we're going to be bringing in the World Cup qualifying, and you just hope that these guys will really develop as the year goes on. And many people say that this is probably the most talented crop of U.S. kind of youngster we have ever had in our history, but it's still early days. So far they have gone a couple of good results. I think back in June when they played against France, they drew that game, and although they did not look very impressive and they pretty much just parked the bus throughout the whole game, it definitely is a little bit sign of improvement that this U.S. team can definitely do big things in the future. But like I said, a lot of players on this team is going to be part of that new generation, and it's going to be interesting to see how they will be playing against one of the best team in the world and the team that have won the most World Cup. And I'm not quite sure if Brazil is going to go with their full strength. I'm not quite sure if Neymar is going to start in this game, but you will know that Brazil probably will go with a good kind of squad, and this will be a very good test for the U.S. to potentially, I don't expect them to win. I think if I say I expect them to win, that is just crazy because U.S. never have a good history against Brazil. I think they only won like 1 out of like 18 or 19 games against Brazil. So, yeah, our international record is not very, very good. But the thing is, all I want to see from this match is that I see how the team play and see that kind of improvement that I definitely did not see from the previous generation of the U.S. men's national team. And yeah, overall, I'll be happy if we get a win, but like I said, it's a friendly game, so nothing really kind of matters except for the fact of how they play and, what are things that we're going to find out that is good, and probably what are the things that we need to probably improve in the future. But just a little talk about that game, let's actually now go back to the 3 games that's going to happen in this international break, because apparently MLS is one of the few leagues that still play games in international break, which is really stupid, in my opinion. I mean, I just feel like in these next couple of years, Don Garbert's got to do something about this. Like, you cannot have games during international break because you are expected to miss a lot of players, and these players are definitely going to be key players. And since now we're at a time where the playoff kind of push is happening, some of these teams will be very, very disappointed that they are going to be heading into a crucial game and they're going to miss a lot of players. And speaking of which, let's talk about the game that probably have the most player that is going to be on international break or injured. NYCFC. Well, they are pretty much coming into this game using their B team pretty much, because their entire starting 11 is pretty much wiped out because of international break or international duty or because of injury. Guys like Joe Burgett, Jesus Medina, Alex Ring, Rodney Wallace, Tajiri Shradi, all those guys will not be playing in this game. And there's even more players that is going to be not in this game. And for DC United, guys like Yamil Assad, although Assad is not on international duty, he's just injured and he's questionable. Zoltan Stubert, Darren Maddox, and Paul Ariola, and who else that is there? can really quite think of top of my head. But basically, both of these teams are going to be missing a lot of their starters. And in some way, when you look at this game, and when you look at both of these teams that are missing a lot of starters, who of course benefit this the most? Well, I shouldn't say benefit because it kind of hurts both teams because both of these teams are missing their key players. But I think the advantage, if you look at this game, has to go for DC United in this match. And I know NYCFC is playing at home, and they usually are very good at home, except for the fact that in the last game, they got their home winning streak snapped, or home unbeaten streak snapped, by none other than the Revs. I mean, that was the same Revs team that haven't won a game in a long time, in 2 months, I believe, and they lost to them. So, certainly, NYCFC coming into this game, they will definitely have no confidence. And when you look at the last 4 games for NYCFC, they are winless. And right now, for NYCFC, this is what a lot of NYCFC fans fear the most, which is coming into the playoffs, they are in a cold streak, and most likely, they're going to get knocked out in the first round again. And that is probably something that NYCFC fan has been hearing for the last couple of years because that's what they do. And, you know, I think this season you could kind of forgive them to get knocked out of the first round early. I mean, I know I said in the beginning of the season, if they don't make it past the first round, then it's going to be a failure kind of year. But, well, the reason why I think NYCFC is struggling right now, besides the fact that they do have some injuries to their key player, is just the playing style that they're doing and how they are just not adapt to Dom Torren's new playing style, and that, you know, it's almost as if they're getting away from their identity when Patrick Vieira, of course, was managing this team. And when you see them getting away from their identity, you see how much they're struggling right now. And it's unfortunate that they had to do a managerial change in mid-season to potentially replace their manager that decided to manage in Europe. But at the same time, you know, you can clearly see why NYCFC is struggling right now with just a new managerial kind of playing style, and that I think because of that, most likely they're probably going to get knocked out of the first round. And, you know, I still think they're going to make the playoffs. I think anybody will not be betting against NYCFC of missing the playoffs. I think if they miss the playoffs, then we're going to have an FC Dallas moment for NYCFC. But, you know, certainly this is a game that DC United's got to capitalize. You know, I talked about how DC United, they got to win a lot of their home games, and this is one of the rare time they're not playing a match at Audi Field. This is an opportunity to capitalize and try to get a road win. And if they do, this will really help in terms of their playoff hope. If they don't, then the pressure will really get to them in terms of actually now winning every single game from now on at Audi Field. But meanwhile, moving on into the next one, this is another game that kind of has a lot of players that is missing, key players that missing from both teams, although Sporting KC probably have the most because their entire attacking core that they rely on so much on scoring is pretty much wiped out coming into this game. Johnny Russell, Daniel Shallowy, and also Diego Rubio is all on international duty. And the good news for Sporting KC, despite all that, is that they're playing Orlando City. And Orlando City is pretty much one of the biggest laughingstock in MLS. And, you know, despite the fact that they did drew 2-2 to the Union, you know, it doesn't really help their cause in terms of making the playoffs. And I think any fan that will say that Orlando City probably have no chance of making the playoffs, consider how bad they are and how long they have gone without getting a win. In fact, how long they have gone without even getting 2 wins so far this season. So, despite the fact that Sporting KC are missing their entire attacking core, I still think they should just have enough coming into this game. I mean, Orlando City does miss one player on the international break, and that player is Yoshi Yotun, and that is a huge miss for Orlando City, because if you've seen how this team play without Yoshi Yotun, it's 3 times worse than when they do have him there. So, you know, and Plus the fact that this is a road game for Orlando City, and so far this season, on the road, they are just as bad as they are at home. So I expect Sporting KC to win this game. I expect them to bounce back after that 3-1 loss to Seattle. And remember what I said last week of how they need to bounce back coming into this game and just avoid having another kind of lapse of concentration and just coming into the playoffs just not looking in a very good form like they've been for the past couple of seasons when they go into the playoffs. That is something that Sporting KC need to keep in mind. But talk about the last match of this 3 games kind of match week during the international break. Portland, they of course take on the Rapids. This is probably the one that will not feature a lot of guys that is either missing from international break or they're actually injured. For the Timbers, I think the only guys that is going to be on international duty is going to be Guzman, and also who was the other player that is? I know Polo is not actually missing from international break. He didn't get called up from Peru. Oh, Alvis Pau is another guy that is going to be missing for this team, although I think he's already injured in the first place. But yeah, not really a lot of big missing piece for the Timbers coming into this game, and they're playing against a Rapids team that also are not going to be missing a lot of big players. I think the only player that they're going to be missing is Callan Acosta, who of course will be with the U.S. men's national team. But, you know, when you look at this game, I expect the Timbers to win this one. You know, the Rapids, even though they have 2 weeks to kind of learn from what went terribly wrong in that 6-0 loss against RSL, although they probably know why they lost to RSL with just the 2 guys that got sent off in this game, and those 2 guys are also not going to be playing in this game. Nicky Jackson and Boateng not going to be part of this match because they are suspended for those red cards. But yeah, I expect Portland to easily win this one because, you know, with the Rapids of how, even though they're only missing Callan Acosta in the international break, that is a big piece to miss. Because when Acosta is not with this Rapids team, we've seen how bad this Rapids team is. And since Portland is playing at home, and since they are pretty good at home, I expect them to win this one. But either way, that is pretty much it for this match preview. It's a quick video, like I said, not a lot of games to talk about. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash that subscribe button, and yeah, I will see you guys next time.